So this video is to accompany the pattern for the Lotus Pool shawl, which is a slightly unusual crochet pattern that uses assigned pooling yarn. So the Lotus Pool shawl is a long, relatively shallow triangle shawl. It uses 200-gram skeins of assigned pooling yarn, and that's in a fingering or 4-ply weight. The yarn that I've used, and here is what I have left from the 200-gram skeins, is from the Wool Kitchen, and it is a long zip yarn. Now that means that for each blue section you've got a pink section that is shorter. So these pink sections are what creates these lotuses, and the difference is around 1/3 pink to 2/3 blue. So it's a 2-to-1 ratio. So if you were to get this as a skein, and I'll drop some pictures of what the full skein looks like in, but if you were to get it as a skein and unloop it, you would see in the big wide loop that it would be 1/3 pink, 2/3 blue. So if you're substituting and not using a Wool Kitchen yarn, then you want a long zip yarn that is about a 2-to-1 ratio. So I'm going to give you a quick demo of how to start the shawl off and how it's increased. It works from the bottom upwards, and you are going to increase on either end of each row to achieve this triangle shape. I'll give you a quick demo of the magic ring and chain that's used to start the shawl, and also some tips and tricks for working this stitch pattern. This pattern is called the mini lotus. It's a derivation of the lotus stitch, which you can look up, but I've customized it just to suit this pattern. So to start the pattern, you're going to want to have about 15 to 20 centimeters of your main color before you change to your pink. You basically need enough of this main color yarn to make a magic ring and a chain 4. If you don't do magic rings, you can start with a chain 5, and then you can work your first mini lotus stitch into that 5th chain from the hook. I do have a separate magic ring tutorial. I'm a fan of it, and I will pop a link to that. I'm just going to show you how you can roughly guesstimate, so you end your chain 4 around this space. You can see that in this yarn the transition from blue has this little green section. So when you get to this little green section, you know you want to start working your mini lotus stitch. So I'm going to start about here with my magic ring, which I always struggle to do on camera. So I've just got my loops wrapped around. So we'll see if that guesstimate is about right. So that's my magic ring, and then I'm going to chain 4. So that's a little bit, you can see I've still got a little bit of blue left. So I'm going to pull that apart and just start a little bit further up. Okay, that's better. Just a quick note about the chain 4. You're going to start each row with a chain 4, and that doesn't count as a stitch. The reason we're starting with a chain 4, because normally where you start a row with a double crochet, you would start with a chain 2 or maybe 3, depending on if it counts as a stitch. Because our shawl is at an angle, you need a bit of extra length just to account for the increases at the start of each row. And what that does, I'll just show you, well, that allows the shawl to have this stretch as it increases. If you only did a chain 2 or 3, you'd get extra tension on this side of the shawl. So I just wanted to clarify that for you. Okay, let's get back to our magic ring, and I'm going to show you how to work the mini lotus stitch. So you can see I've got my green there, so I'm ready to start, and I'm going to start with my first mini lotus into this magic ring. So there is a description of the mini lotus stitch in the pattern, which is linked in the comments, but I'll just walk you through it here. So I start, it's essentially, there's 3 petals to the lotus. Each petal is a puff stitch, but we do differ the number of yarn overs in the puff stitch. I do have a separate puff stitch tutorial if you are new to puff stitches. So again, I will link that in left and or right handed, depending on which version of the video you're watching. So to make the mini lotus, I'm going to work a puff stitch where I yarn over, insert hook, pull up a loop 3 times, and then chain 1. That's the first petal. The second petal, I will yarn over, insert hook, yarn over, pull up a loop 4 times, then chain 1. And for the third petal, I'll repeat the first. So that's yarn over, insert hook, yarn over, pull up a loop 3 times, and finish with a chain 1. And that is going to be my first row. So let's just show you. So we're going to yarn over, insert, yarn over, pull up a loop 3 times for the first part. So that's 1, 2, 3. Then yarn over, pull through all of your loops, and then yarn over to close. So you've got that blue chain 4, which is fine because that just kind of borders the pink. Then for the middle lotus petal or puff stitch, we're going to do that 4 times in the middle. So that's yarn over, insert, pull up a loop 1, yarn over, insert, pull up a loop 2, yarn over, insert, pull up a loop 3, yarn over, insert, pull up a loop 4, then yarn over, pull through 4. I'm just holding the base of the stitch there, yarn over and chain 1 to close that. Then I'm going to do another one like the first. Let's just pull that to a little bit with 3 repeats. So 1, 2, 3, and you can see that's just taken me to the edge of that pink. So that's essentially my first row. This will need blocking out a little bit. I'm just going to tighten that loop because the first row is going to be a little bit squashed. So I'm going to chain 4. I haven't included that chain that I did to close that final stitch. So when I come to work the next row, normally what I do is I'd work the other side of the stitch, so you go to the far side. But because this is just the starting section, I'm going to work 3 double crochet in that chain that I used to close the stitch. So I'm going to go 1, this is my beginning of the row increase, 2, 3, that's 3 stitches. Then I'm going to work over that chain stitch just before I made that third puff. So that's 1 double crochet in there. And then I'm going to work in this gap here, another double crochet. And then we go to work in this one here, so that this was the first stitch, that first petal, and I'm going to work 3 in that last stitch there. I'm just working into that chain space. Then let's chain 4. So you can see it's starting to take shape. So I've got 3 stitches there, 2 between the 3 petals and 3 there. So I've got 8 stitches on this second row. Now from this point on, I'm going to increase by 4 stitches each row. So if ever you're a bit lost, and just make sure you've got a multiple of 4 stitches. So we'll start with 3 stitches, 3 double crochet. This is all US terms, and so that's 3 double crochet in the first stitch. Then I'm just going to keep working double crochet until I get to the next bit of pink. So you can see it's coming up. So that's fallen quite clean cutly in that stitch, but sometimes the change will fall halfway through a stitch, and you can use your own judgment where to switch the stitches. So the next stitch I'm going to make a mini lotus, so I'm going to skip this stitch, then I'm going to work my mini lotus into this stitch here, then I'll skip that stitch, and then I'll carry on. So first petal, skip that stitch, 1, 2, 3. Just gonna pull some of this yarn off. That's my 3, yarn over, pull through, and then chain 1, then 4 on the next one. 1, 2, 3, 4, yarn over, pull through, and chain 1, and then 3 on this last one. 2, 3, yarn over, pull through, yarn over, chain. And you can see I've just come to this little green segment there. So I'm going to skip that stitch because this mini lotus counts as 3 stitches, so we ignore the chain stitches, just counts as 3, and that's the same all the way through. So I'll skip that one, work a double crochet into the next one, and actually this next one is the last stitch of the row, so I'm going to work 3 double crochet into that last stitch. 1, 2, and that's 3. So you can see I've got 3 there. I'm going to chain 4 and turn. You can turn and chain 4 if you like. So I'll just show you one more repeat because I want to show you the easiest way to work when you've got these 3 in there. So 3 double crochet in the first stitch. And then keep working double crochet in each stitch. So when we get to the mini lotus, you've got this stitch here which was the first stitch after the mini lotus, so I'm going to work a double crochet in there. Then here is your lotus, so I'm going to work the next stitch in here on this far side of the stitch, the next one in that next space. I'm working over that chain essentially, and then the next one just before this space, so in here, so that's working over the top of my mini lotus, and then I'll go and work in the top of that to the end. So So the other thing to note with this pattern, because you're just going to keep working double crochet, and then each time you hit your pink, you're going to switch to a mini lotus stitch. So sometimes that might come at the end or the beginning of the row, which conveniently is what it's done here. So I've worked 2 double crochet in that last stitch, which means I've essentially got 1 more stitch to work. So when you're making these increases, you don't always need to skip the stitch. Just think of each petal of the lotus as 1 stitch. So I'm going to work a triple repeat, well, not a triple repeat, the first petal here. So 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to yarn over. So that takes me to the end of that row, and I don't want to make any more stitches on that row. So I'm going to chain 4. So what I need to do to start the next row is to work 3 stitches in the first stitch. Now I've got 2 petals left to work, and this here, that is the first stitch, so I'm going to work into that gap. Now because I've chained 4, I'm not going to have as much pink left for those petals, so I'm going to work both as a 3 instead of 4 for the middle one. So that's 3 times of insert, yarned over, insert hook, pull up a loop. So that's 1 there, and then same again, 1, 2, 3. I just have enough pink yarn for that to do my chain. So I've worked 2 in there, so I'm going to work another double crochet in there for my 3 stitch increase at the start of the row. Then I'm going to work double crochet into that next row. So there's lots of combinations of where you can work the petal at the end of the row. Just like I say, think of each petal as 1 stitch. So you may not always need to skip the stitch because you're on an increase. And If you're not sure, you can wing it a little bit, but just keep checking that you've got your multiple of 4 stitches, and that should tell you that you're on the right lines. So let's just work to the end of this row. So essentially, that's how you work the shawl. You just keep working, and it's, I like to call it a self-seeding pattern, because the yarn just tells you what to do. One, two. So although we're on a pink, I'm going to make this last 3rd stitch there, and then I'll just show you. I'm going to work all 3 stitches in that 1st stitch in this example, but I don't need to skip that stitch that time. So 1, 2. Again, I'm just going to yarn over 3 times, pull up a loop 3 times for this, because I've already used quite a bit of that pink. And you can adjust your tension as you work. You know, you might find that actually with your tension, you can only yarn over, pull up a loop 3 times each time. Some of you might be able to do it 4 times each time. So adjust your tension to suit the yarn and how you crochet. Look at that, I love it when a plan comes together. Yeah, I like to call it self-seeding just because of the way the flowers tell you where they're going to go. So that is the starting point for the shawl. So here's what it looks like a bit further along when you're just working on longer rows. The rows get pretty long pretty quickly. That's petal 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. Petal 2. 1, 3. That's petal 3, and then skip that stitch. So I'll skip that one there, skipping that one. Sorry, skipped that one there. And then double crochet until I get to the next section of pink. And here we go. Here's a nice clean example of how to work into the top of your lotus. So I'm going to work double crochet into that one. Sometimes easy to see once you've got more shawl to work with. So into that space there, double crochet into that space there, and into that space there. So it's just on the far side of the stitch, and then into the top of that stitch. Even that, you can see there's the post. That's the top loops on the further side. And keep going on and on and on until you finish your yarn, pretty much. Another thing to note is that in some cases you're going to work your lotuses on top of each other. You might get this sort of pooling, but it's quite random, and you can change your tension of the double crochets if you're kind of getting a rut with it. There's lots of tricks that you can do. So if you want more space, you can kind of work tighter double crochets, or you can loosen up between your lotuses. But sometimes you will work them into the top of each other. Here's a little cluster. And again, you just count each petal as a lotus. So you work on the far side if you're going that way, on that side if you're working that way. Just keep that in mind, that each petal is 1 stitch and you can't go far wrong. And here's a look at my finished version of the shawl. Obviously, it's going to be slightly different for everybody that makes it because of the way the yarn pulls. Just a reminder that this video is an accompaniment to the pattern, and you can access the written pattern on my blog. It's 0 cost, so you can just head over to the Dora Does blog. I'll pop a link up the top and also in the comments so you can find the written pattern and read that in combination with this video. So I hope you found this useful. Any questions, please do just drop them in the comments. But thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoy this pattern.